Who has a question? Anything? Who will be the first brave, wise, brave soul?
Oh, you know you have one.
Come on, Megan, where are you? You've got to have a question.
Sure.
All right.
When the world treats you bad?
Say that again.
How you sustain like this nice mentality when the world treats you bad?
How do you maintain that positive attitude, positive energy when you yourself are feeling not bad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or when the press turns against you, or when, absolutely. And I'm going to ask Emily the same question because, again, we're at very different phases. She's young and up and coming and building this incredible business, and there will be ups and downs. But I've also been raised that you will actually learn more in the valleys than you will when you're on the mountaintop. Mm-hmm. And my thing is, don't forget that. So what I always say is when whether it's outside pressure or whether it's something we were trying to do inside and it wasn't successful, then I always stop and pause and say, this has happened for a reason. I'm supposed to learn something from this, right? So every major problem, just say, okay, this is a lesson. This is a test. And I can beat this test. I will learn from this lesson. And when you do that, then you'll just take off and soar again, but you're going to have another lesson thrown at you. And it's almost like the ladder of life. And the more that you tackle that lesson, you get to go to the next step.
The next
but
level,
if you can't,
like a video game.
You bet.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you look at it?
It's very similarly. I mean, it's super hard, and I definitely am not perfect, and I have to, I have moments where I have to apologize to people. I say, I'm sorry, I was a real booger in that meeting yesterday. I was really tired, and, that I think you're, I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. That was, So I think for me, like, apology is really powerful. Like, if you think you left the room with less energy in it than when you walked into it, realize it. Like, self-awareness is like half the battle. You don't have to beat yourself up, but just, realize it. If you need to say to someone, hey, I was kind of a, booger. And this is I say this because our CFO, Vanessa Whitman, is one of these leaders we hired. She's just phenomenal. I mean, just such an amazing woman. She's, she's at Dropbox as their CFO. She was, head CFO at Motorola. I mean, she's on the board of FIFA, Bookings.com. Like, she's like, she was my example of when you said you fight my fate and then I give up. Vanessa, I was trying to convince Vanessa to join Glossier for 3 years until finally last March, she gave up. And she was like, all right, I'll come do it. Like, I'll do it. And she was like, if I weren't here, I'd be retired. She was like, I just love it and I want to be here. And I learned a lot from her. But
the biggest lesson in that, if you plan on doing your own thing, nothing is easy. She's winning, not just because she had a good idea, not just because she interacts with her community and her customers, but because she's one of the most persistent people that I've ever met in my life.
How do you stand out? So it's interesting because I actually had I had dinner last night with my former assistant, Morgan Von Steen, who I just absolutely loved working with every day and just gave me so much energy, so much inspiration, and we just fueled each other, just like ping pong, bouncing back and forth ideas every day. She founded a new startup in government technology, and then we went to a party together in New York over the weekend, and it was all young founders. It was like all people who were creating, one's creating a beverage company, one's creating a hair company, one's creating a few fashion brands and accessories brands. First of all, I was just so inspired that this is the ecosystem in New York right now. I mean, 7 years ago, like, it was not like that. People just weren't able to, there just wasn't this group of people creating brands. But when I was talking to Morgan about it, she was like, the hard thing now about creating brands is it's easy to create a great Instagram profile, right, of a brand or an idea, and then everyone's seeing it all, and so suddenly you start to look at brands and they all kind of look the same. Like, when I look at the direct-to-consumer landscape, which is slightly different, it's not just fashion. It could be some fashion that is direct-to-consumer, some, razors, some hair care, some beauty products, like, all these things. We're in an era of, like, kind of a very same sort of, I could get really specific about what I think it is, but just like kind of just everything starts to blur together, right? Because there's a lot of groupthink. And so we were talking about the necessity to kind of like tune it all out. Like, how do you like unfollow those accounts? There are certain accounts that I have literally unfollowed on Instagram because I get too influenced by them. Like, it starts to like point me, I'm like, well, should we be more like, this thing? And I'm screenshotting it and I'm sending it to people and I'm like, wait, like what am I doing? Like, we're us. Like, let wood be wood. Like, get the right people in the room who believe in what we're doing and who have great ideas and let's just keep creating. And so I think one of the key things that I recommend is like tune it out. It's actually not like consume it all. It's like, how do you really tune it out as much as you can? And think about like, what do you actually want to say? It takes courage. It's like listening to your intuition. It's, it's like, what do I really want to say? And then like really do that. Even if it's not the popular thing or it's not the look right now or it's, it's totally different, just do that. Because, at the time that Glossier launched in 2014, it didn't look like anything. And by the way, I had zero guarantee that anyone would like it. Like, who knows, right? When we pressed launch on launch day and it was 9 people around a computer and we didn't have any idea if anyone would like it or care. But it was original.
And you stayed true to who you were.
Yes, it was.
My thing is there's only one of you, right? There's 7.2 billion people on the planet, but there's one of you.
And
so who are you? What's your story?
Yeah.
Right? What's your dream, your passion, your vision, and to thyself be true.
And
because there's only one of you.
Yeah.
And the first one may not work. Maybe the second one will, right? Most great businesses, those people have failed 2 or 3 times before they hit that one. So you can't ever give up. But I think, and I think that's your success. You are you.
Yeah,
right?
I think.
And you're not trying to be somebody else.
The other thing I'd say that I've learned is like, the consequence to that is that you yourself won't like it. Meaning like you can make something that is in the, not the thing that deep down is like the thing that you want to propose, but then you'll be sitting with it like, months later or a year later and you'll be like, I'm not really that into it. Like it doesn't feel right to me. And so you're the one who's kind of sitting with it. And do you want to be doing something just because it's going to make more money or because it's going to, fit in or because you hope to be something else for so that people will make it? Or do you want to be like, I made it and I love it. Like I'm so proud of it. And that's one of the main principles that we have adhered to. So like discerning is one of our core values and just so discerning about like, do we like this? Like, is anyone here even interested? And there have been times in meetings people are like, I'll get a whole presentation. And by the way, I don't think this is unique to us. It happens everywhere. You get a whole thing, and then you sit around, you look at everyone, and like, no one really looks that excited. And you're like, are you guys into this? And people are like, uh-huh. And you're like, well, if you're not into it, then like, no one else is going to be into it. Customers, they're going to feel it. They're not going to love it just because you needed to fill a hole in the market with XYZ SKU or you need to round it out your thing or you need, like when you start to let that slip, that's when like a brand just like, it just goes. You have to really feel like you love it. You have to really love it.
So jumping off of that, in cosmetics, there's always such a high demand for, what's the next SKU to come out? What's the next skincare? How do you manage that and how do you decide what SKUs you're going to launch and to stay true to your
Yep. You want to do 60-second quick?
Sure.
One? Okay.
And Megan finally got her question in, so.
Okay. We have taken a very Apple-like approach to product. Most brands, like beauty brands, launch with 120 things at once. We launched with 4. The key difference is we're not in any wholesale channels. If you're in a wholesale channel, you have to fill an entire gondola in order to play in that channel. You have to literally like spew product onto a huge thing in order to be in the front of the store, right? With us, we have infinite shelf space, but that doesn't mean we should fill it. It's about really, really discerning because we want every product that we make to be around in 50 years from now. Boy Brow is like its own brand. Boy Brow can be used by an 18-year-old today in Milwaukee and a 80-year-old in, Silicon Valley, right? And if you're the 15-year-old, she's going to buy Boy Brow for her graduation, for her first job, for her wedding, for her kid, through her divorce, through her, like the whole life cycle. She's using Boy Brow, right? And it means something, and it's with her throughout her life, not unlike an iPhone, right? And you're using different iterations of iPhone throughout your whole life. So we take a really long-term approach and think, does this really need to exist? Like, is this really changing, the game for people? Because if it's not, then there's enough stuff in the world. And that's what we've done.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you, Angela. That was amazing. And thanks, guys, for spending this time with us.
I hope you got all your questions answered.
Yeah, but I'm going in your trunk, so...